Welcome back to another episode of the Iron Purpose podcast. Today is Easter. Happy Easter to everybody out there. He is risen. Now, when we think about Easter and what it is, and what it means to us, what it means to our families and our friends, um, for me, my family this weekend, we got a chance to get together and kind of start a new tradition, which was pretty cool. My mom had reached out to us and said, we want to get a place where all of us can kind of come together and hang out, to spend the weekend together. And we were planning on going up to Duluth, I believe is what it was. But it didn't work out, so we ended up getting a cabin at Grandview Lodge, locally. So it's a little bit of a staycation. But it was an awesome time. It was really fun. I was truly blessed to be able to spend time with my brothers, their significant others, my mom and her husband, and then my wife and my kiddo. Just being excited to be able to spend time with the people that I grew up with in my three brothers was something that was really special. Growing up, I was like, are we gonna go hang out with these friends? We're gonna hang out with this family friend because we just spend so much time with with our family. It makes me think of growing up. There were plenty of times where I took that for granted. So it was really special. It was a lot of fun to be able to spend time with my brothers. Hanging out with Noah and his little kiddo and his wife, and Ethan and his girlfriend, and just Jonas, spending some time with him in the evening, playing some pool, and we all got together and went to the different pools that Grandview has, and just spent a lot of time with each other. And it was a lot of fun. It was really a blessing. It made me kind of think of my childhood. Growing up in that area, going to Grandview, growing up swimming. That was my first job that I ever had. Was actually at Grandview, and getting a chance to work in the pool down there that we actually went to this weekend. So it's kind of cool to see a lot of things and be able to bring Cade in there and kind of watch him experience my childhood, or watch. It was kind of a lens, I guess, into my childhood from a different perspective on the outside, kind of watching him play in the pool and be around family, be around my brothers and stuff. And so, all that to say, it was a lot of fun. It was a good time, and I hope you all had a good day as well and a good weekend, a very good Easter weekend. We went to church Sunday morning, and the pastor at Timberwood, interim pastor there, was talking about obviously the resurrection of Christ and the fact that he is risen, the fact that because he lives, we're able to face tomorrow, we're able to operate in life in a fashion that is one of hope, one of joy, and it is all too often forgotten, by myself, and I know by a lot of other people who are believers in Jesus and what he did for us. We are so excited in the fact that we have hope, we have assurance in our future, in what happens after this life, and sometimes we forget about that same power when it comes to the job interview that we have the next day, or that task that we have to complete, or that person that we have to talk to, or this issue that we have to confront. We're so nervous to tackle it or to try to go after it, yet we know that we have this joy, this peace, this comfort that passes all understanding. And the pastor at Timberwood, there was these rocks that were spread throughout the whole congregation in front of each chair. And at one point during the sermon, the pastor said, "All right, take your rock." He said, "Don't throw it at me." It was just kind of funny, but nobody throw any rocks. But I want you to write on there something that you are hoping to get out of the coming weeks, the coming years in your life, something that you want, but sometimes there's a stone in the way. And when Jesus was crucified, he rose again 3 days later, and we all have heard the story, whether you're a believer or not. You've heard the truth. The Bible talks about how Jesus rolled the stone away and walked out of that tomb. And at that moment, the hope, the joy that we can find in his resurrection it happened. And that is something we could put our hope in. And it's very reassuring. It's very comforting. But sometimes we have these stones in our life that are preventing us from getting to where we want to be, preventing us from becoming the people that we want to be. And so he had us write a word on there. And what is something that you want to have that would give you that reassurance, that would give you that next step, that level up, if you will, in your life? And so I wrote my word on there, and he said, keep it next to you, keep it on your desk at work, keep it in your car. Whenever you see it, think of the resurrection and the fact that because Jesus died and rose again for us, we are able to roll these stones away. That whatever that we're facing in this earthly experience, we are able to overcome, we are able to get through because Jesus rose again and rolled that stone away. We can have whatever it is that we wanted to write on our rock. And I'm not going to tell you, it's a secret. You'll have to ask me in person if you really want to know. But super, super awesome analogy. And it's been making me think of some other things that have been on my mind over the past few weeks in relation to that. And it all started when I was picking up this book again, See You at the Top by Zig Ziglar. It's one that I've kind of read halfway through, and then I get so busy and kind of put it down and forget about it that I have to reread it. So I've reread the first couple chapters a bunch of times, just trying to get back into it. But I'm taking it more slowly now. I'm about 3 chapters in, and every time I read a chapter, I go back through it and I write stuff down and I highlight it, which is what he recommends in this book. But there's a part in the very beginning, page 14, that he talks about. It's on faith, and that's kind of what this Easter season is all about. It's that faith, that belief in Jesus and what he did for us. The fact that he died and rose again, conquering death, the thing that probably all of us fear the most, whether you say it or not. Having your human experience cut short, or looking ahead to the future and knowing that you're not going to be able to have all that you have right now. When you start thinking about death, it really gets frightening. It can really take the joy out of the current moment and go, well, wow, okay, if I'm going to die someday, then what is this even for? Why am I even here if I'm not going to be able to live forever in an earthly sense? And Jesus promises life everlasting if we trust in him. And that's something that I firmly believe in. And if you don't believe that, and you're unsure about it, and you want to know more about it, please reach out. I understand it's an uncomfortable thing to talk about for some reason. Whenever I get the urge to want to share Jesus with somebody who I know maybe isn't a believer, or maybe they're kind of back and forth, or maybe they're just completely lost. They're unsure. They don't know, what their future looks like after this life, and it can be an uncomfortable thing to talk about. But I want to encourage you, if you have questions, if it's something that you are unsure about, if it's something that you want to be confident in and know for sure, please reach out. I'm not a professional by any means. I'll be able to tell you what I believe and why I believe it, but if you want to know more, please reach out, and I can get you plugged into some people who do it for a living, who study this stuff for a living, to help you get your questions answered, and to make you more confident and sure of what your future, what your tomorrow holds, because it's a very beautiful thing. On faith, I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow. So I approach it with confidence and thanksgiving. My Bible assures me that my past is forgiven and forgotten. Now that takes care of my past. Jesus died and he rose again. And if we choose to accept that gift that he gives us today, my past is forgiven and forgotten. That takes care of everything that I worry about in my past. I may think of a situation, go, I fell short there. Golly, that's we all have those thoughts of, man, I'm a loser. I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I did that. These different mistakes that I made. Man, I can't believe I said that to that person. I can't believe I hurt them in that way. We were able to ask for forgiveness, and if they don't, accept that apology, that's a tough thing to have to live through. But when we bring it to Jesus, we know that it is forgiven and it is forgotten. It is cast as far as the east is from the west. That Jesus says, I love you so much that I'm willing to lay down my life and offer this for you. What a freeing feeling to know that our past can't hold us back. Jesus Christ said, I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. That takes care of my present. So when Jesus says, I have come to give you life and to give it more abundantly, he's saying, I have come to give you life so that you can live to the fullest, so that you can experience joy that you can't even understand. That takes care of my present. And John 3:16 assures me that I will have everlasting life, and that takes care of my future. So with my past forgiven, my present secure, and my future irrevocably guaranteed, why shouldn't I be enthusiastically optimistic? With our past taken care of, with our present secured, and with our future irrevocably guaranteed, why is it that we can't get through certain days? Why is it that we can't get these thoughts out of our head, or this feeling of grief, this feeling of guilt, this feeling of pain, this feeling of disappointment, this feeling of anxiety, depression, all these things? And again, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again in the future. There are things where it takes a little bit more than just a belief. It takes a little bit more than just a simple understanding. Maybe you have some stuff in your mind that that you just can't get figured out and you need help, you need to talk to a therapist, you need to get on medication, you need to be part of a club or something to help you out. But this is a beautiful starting point. This is a beautiful place where that the root is grown into something that is very strong and very powerful. My Bible assures me that my past is forgiven and forgotten. That takes care of my past. Jesus Christ said, I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. That takes care of my present. John 3:16 assures me I will have everlasting life. That takes care of my future. With my past forgiven, my present secure, and my future irrevocably guaranteed, why shouldn't I live more enthusiastically optimistic? Beautiful. It's very beautiful. And sometimes people will tell me, Bailey, why is it that you're so happy? How do you have so much positivity? It's something that I've definitely had to work for. It's not always what I'm thinking on the inside. Sometimes I have to process different thoughts before I let them out, process different feelings before I let them out, because there's times where I slip up and I'm angry, or I say the wrong thing, or I'm impatient, just like anybody else. We're all human. But I will often say it's because of Jesus and caffeine is how I'm able to make it through. Obviously, there's a lot more things that go into that, but um, that little part of the book really stood out to me, and it was right off the bat. It was right away in the beginning, and it was something that I've read a couple times, but it was something that I really needed for right now. Something where I'm looking at my rock and seeing this word of what I want to be able to accomplish and what I want to have internally, and then I'm able to roll that stone away because Jesus died and rose again for me. Because he lives, I can face tomorrow. That's an old hymn. Because he lives. Because he lives, I can face tomorrow. There's a Mercy Me song. It's called Spoken For, and that's another one that kind of replays in my mind a lot. And the chorus goes, covered by your love divine, child of the risen Lord, to hear you say, this one's mine, my heart is spoken for. So when the devil comes rearing his serpenty-looking face as I'm sleeping at night to try to get into my mind, or as I'm working my way through work, through life, through being a dad, being a father, it's the same thing, being a husband, being a friend, whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish in my life. Satan is around. They say he's like a roaring lion, but when I think of Satan, I think of a serpent, I think of a snake, kind of making his way to try to find me, and he's slowly working his way up his leg to try to choke me out and prevent me from doing what it is that God would have called for me that day. Now, because Jesus lives, because he rose, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, my heart is spoken for. And when Satan's trying to come after me, he'll try to get to my heart and he'll go, oh, shoot, this one is covered by the blood of Jesus. I already tried to take out Jesus and he rose again, so I know that I'm not going to be able to get this one. But he's still going to try to do anything that he can to prevent us from being who we were called to be through Jesus. He's trying to prevent us from being who we're called to be as fathers, as husbands, as daughters, wives, friends, aunts, uncles, whatever fill in the blank, whatever that is for you. He's trying to prevent you from being the best one that you can be because he knows he can't have you. And what a powerful feeling that is. When we were shopping around this weekend in Nisswa, we were kind of with family. We were looking around, and I went into a store, and I knew they had these bracelets in there because I have one. I have a black and yellow one. That's Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. And I found this one, and I really like the colors. It stuck out to me. And the verse that's on this one is 1 Peter 4:10, which says, "Each of you has been blessed with one of God's many wonderful gifts to be used in the service of others. So use your gift well." I thought that was really cool. We all have different gifts, different strengths, and different weaknesses, but we are all together in whatever it is that we are facing. God gives us these different gifts, these different things to be able to go out and to share, to become fishers of men, to find groups that can come together and be strong in each other, to share the beautiful message that we heard about today in church, or the beautiful message that Easter gives in He Rose Again. Because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, my heart is spoken for. Because he lives, I can roll the stone away. Any stone in my life that I have that's holding me back. Maybe there's a tomb that you're in right now. Maybe there's a snake that's got itself wrapped around your leg. And it's another silly analogy, but obviously I'm a big UFC fan, and there's a picture of of Michael Chandler, who fought against Charles Oliveira. Now Charles Oliveira is the most successful submission artist in UFC history, so he has the most submissions to anybody to ever do it. So what that would look like is to get choked out or to have an arm bar. It's to where somebody taps and they can't continue. And so when I see him, I think of him as that snake trying to snare you up, try to keep you down. And I'll share this on my social media. I'll share it with you if you haven't seen it. Please reach out and I'll send it to you. But it's an awesome analogy for me to where Michael was in the last round of the fight and Charles is on him. He's wrapped him up and they're on the ground, and Michael somehow was able to stand up and just jump backwards and body slam backwards onto Charles Oliveira. And he had already lost the fight by by the scorecard, but he had made it through without getting submitted by Charles. So he ends up getting up again somehow, pretty much squatting his own weight, and Charles on his back, and Oliveira's just wrapped around him like a snake. And there's this picture where Michael's just walking forward, and he knows that he's not going to win this battle at the moment, and he ends up jumping back again and body slamming. And a few short seconds later, the match is over and the fight's over with, and Oliveira ends up winning. Yet Michael's able to leave that octagon, and he's able to be positive. He's able to find his purpose, his passion, and he's able to move forward. It's not easy. Those situations are very scary. I've been in jiu-jitsu sparring before, not sparring, but rolling around with these guys. And it can be tough, especially if it's somebody who's a lot bigger than myself, who may be like suffocating, maybe hot, maybe sweaty, maybe something that's really, not a good situation to be in. And that reminds me of Satan trying to put his snares, his traps out there to get us from being who we're meant to be. Because we tap out, we can't take it any longer. We want to tap out, we want to give in to these things. And because Jesus died and rose again, I'm able to continue fighting until the bell rings, till he calls me home. I'm able to continue going regardless. We press on towards the high calling of Christ Jesus in our lives. We're able to forget what's in the past and remember the one thing that matters in our lives, and that's that faith, because he lives. We're able to face tomorrow because he lives. We're able to experience all the wonderful things that we have in our lives. So that's just been something that's been on my mind with the Zig Ziglar book, with See You at the Top, and trying to better myself mentally. How can I look at myself in a confident way, understanding that Jesus is the rock of my life, and from there everything else flows abundantly. So reading that out of that book, and then coming into this Easter season, and going to Timberwood and hearing what the pastor had to say today with the rock, and how these rocks can be rolled away, as a reminder, writing the word on here and rolling it away, understanding that because of Jesus, we're able to accomplish those things. Hearing those different songs, and then getting this bracelet and being able to wear this around. 1 Peter 4:10. Each of you has been blessed with one of God's many wonderful gifts to be used in the service of others. So use your gift well. We have been given an opportunity. We have been given a gift. And if you want to know more about that gift, please reach out to myself and I'll get you connected to somebody, or I'd love to chat with you as well. This is Iron Purpose. Stay sharp, everybody.